All right, so hello, beautiful person, beautiful world. So I've been working through the artist's way, and I guess it's kind of like a book club video. I wanted to wait until I was further in the process to like actually start doing these like reflection videos because I didn't want to start doing it. And if something came up, I ended up stopping. But I really committed myself to the process, so I feel like I'm at a good point to like share more of my journey. So we're just gonna go through like my weekly reflections, like my weekly check-ins, and yeah, we're on week 5 now, but this is just only weeks 1 through 4. Just to, like share like how the process has been for me and like the transformation and synchronicity I've been experiencing since starting the artist way. Um, yeah. So if you are unfamiliar, the artist way is a pretty popular book. Um, But yeah, the artist way is like a creative recovery process. The book was written by Julia Cameron. I'm loving it so far. It really popped off for me because I was going through Doshi's YouTube videos and I saw she was going through it like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and it kind of inspired me to start my own writer's way journey. I heard about it a lot before them just because I'm a pretty creative person, or at least I like to think of myself. That's a blur. I am a creative person, and I'm just like, it's something I've always been like interested in doing. But then I was like, when I heard it was like 14 weeks, I was like, I don't know, that might be a bit much. But or actually it might be 12 weeks. I don't remember how many weeks it is. It's a long process, but regardless, I was just like, I don't know if that's something I could commit to, just because whenever life gets too much for me, I do tend to check out of things. And yeah, but then I figured it would be like a good challenge for myself in order to really lock in and hone in on my creativity. And I feel like for the past few years, really since college, I've been really out of touch with my creativity just because I've always had to use my creativity once I got to college for like other things, like as far as like supporting like creating things for like other people, like businesses, organizations, and things in that aspect. Not really things for myself and my own enjoyment, but since I've been doing the artist way, I have gotten back to that sense of like creating for the sake of creating and not for anybody else or to get something specific out of it. I'm just like making sure that I show up each day and being used as a vessel by God for like, because God is like the ultimate source of like creativity, and that's something that the book really touches on. That I really enjoy about the book, because like it always brings it back to God in the sense that God is like the ultimate creator and God is like the original creator. So like by tapping into God and by being obedient to God, then we're allowed to like fully express our sense of creativity in like a new and different ways, and not like only in like specific ways that we create for ourselves, but like in a way that we're meant to be used in that moment. And so just going through this process has been really healing for me, and definitely healing for my inner child, because I remember like as a kid I would love writing and just writing poetry, short stories, and just using writing as like a mode to get my thoughts and however I was feeling out and just to really express myself. But since yeah, like college, maybe even high school. Well, no, high school I was still pretty creative, but college definitely like I allowed myself to kind of shy away from that and try to be more realistic with my goals and try to do things for the sake of showing up in the best way that people kind of expected me to. So I would go more toward like academic writing and showing up in that way. And I still do enjoy academic writing because I do feel like it's a great way to express how you're feeling, your thoughts, because it's just like in a more structured way. But now I feel like I'm able to like fully express myself without any boundaries or without any like rules, so to speak. Okay, so we have my artist way notebook here, and I have like my little sticky notes to like mark each of my weekly check-ins. And I remember like starting out doing my morning pages for week 1. I really struggled to get to 3 pages every day just because it was something new. 1 page was easy, I can do that. But 3 pages was kind of a struggle, and it was definitely a struggle on my hand because I haven't really been like physically writing as much as I used to since my accident, of course. And just with like learning to write with my right hand as opposed to like being a naturally left-handed person, it has been like a new experience, but it does remind me of like when I was a kid and just learning to write in like kindergarten and having to like practice writing every day and like just like working on like building those muscles in my hand. I've definitely gotten to a point where it's a lot easier because we're on week 5 now, but back then it was just like, I don't know how this is. In the beginning of this, I was like, my handwriting looks crazy. It looks like hieroglyphics, but we're here. It's a growing process, and I feel like that's like also a part of me being able to see how the process is working for me, and not like necessarily like in a creative way, but more so like just accepting myself and showing up as myself on the page each morning. Okay, so now we can get to our week 1 check-in. So the first question is always like, how many days did you do your morning pages? Did you have any problems doing them, basically? So just looking at my reflection, yeah, I started off strong because I wanted to, because I was like definitely like the first 21 days of the process, I want to do my morning pages every day because they always say that's the best way to build a habit. And I felt like if I'm able to do the first 21 days nonstop, then I'll be unstoppable throughout this process. I didn't do that, but I did for the first week. So that's what we're gonna reflect on. Yeah, I was able to hit all 7 days of my morning pages, 7 out of 7 for the week. Yeah, I just love the process of like just being able to show up for myself and just showing up on the page. And like when I remove like the need to hit 3 pages or to write anything profound, and I just remind myself that I'm really just doing like a brain dump of however I'm feeling, whether it's from like the day before or just whatever's on my mind that morning, then I really do allow myself to just show up on the page. And I just remind myself to just keep moving my hand until I feel like I'm done. I haven't really been too focused on hitting 3 pages, at least not for the first week. I wasn't. And I was just like, I just need to write in order to get into the groove of writing again. And then the second question was, what was the artist date? So like the artist date is just like a way to like refill the well. That's what Julia says in the book. And it's just like you being able to go out into the world without any boundaries, without any specific rules, and just spending, I think it's 2 hours. I usually do like an hour or two of time with your inner child and allowing your inner child to just play and be, whatever that might look like. For the first few weeks, I will admit my artist dates were a little, not lackluster, but it weren't anything like super elaborate just because money's a little tight right now. And so we're just working on what we have. But I have been finding ways that are cost efficient to still like enjoy my artist dates. So yeah, so for the second question, I did a simple artist date this week. I just went to like a little local park and just chilled outside for some time, and I just had to get some fresh air. That's really basically all I did. I didn't do anything super crazy. I just went to the park. I don't think I even wrote that day. I think I just went to the park and just showed up. And I feel like that was good for me to like get into the habit of doing it. And again, I was just trying to like start forming those, start building that muscle. Yeah. And so for the third question, did I have any issues that week? For week 1, I didn't really have any issues. I really enjoyed the tasks because they were really reflective and like just showing how we have these certain blurs that pop up. And for me, it was like a lot of blurs that were like, you're not that creative, or your handwriting is hideous, and just like these things that show up in the creative process that kind of stop you from wanting to go further into the creative process, and like trying to like basically continue to block me from being more creative, and just these like excuses I come up with in my own mind to like stop myself from doing things that I actually enjoy. And to like counter that, we were like tasked with writing affirmations that are more affirming to being a creative person and like just fighting back. So like for my handwriting, for example, when I would think my handwriting is very ugly right now. I don't even know why I'm doing this. The affirmation I use to combat that is, you're a work in progress. Your handwriting is getting better each day that you do this. Just keep going. And just like little things like that, like they seem minor, but it's just like also rewiring your brain, like allowing yourself to like build that neuroplasticity in order to counter the negative thought patterns that we always return to in order to stop ourselves or to block ourselves from being creative. And so yeah, that is the end for week 1. So for week 2, I also hit 7 out of 7 days for my morning pages. At this point, I was feel like I was really getting into the groove of the process, and I was really starting to really enjoy it. and not feel like it was something I was having to do. And I feel like that's like how it is with starting any new process or any new habit. Like in the beginning, it's like, why am I doing this? This is kind of annoying. But as I continue going through the process, I did start to enjoy it more. And I feel like it was like a great way for me to just like dump anything I was feeling and to just like be fully authentic on the page. Because I have to remind myself that this is for me and not for anybody else. And part of that process is just like, again, showing up and not really putting too many expectations on myself. Just allow myself to have that space, just express how I'm feeling and to just be. And I also started like noticing a lot of improvement in my handwriting. I did feel like some of my morning pages were kind of negative, but I mean that's just how it's gonna be sometimes. Again, it's like a brain dump, and at this point, I was really struggling with how I was feeling regarding my unemployment and not having a job and not having any income, and it was really starting to weigh on me. But again, we're working through it, and the morning pages did allow me to just have the space to dump out those feelings and to just be and express how I was feeling. So for the second question, my artist date did not happen because honestly, I kind of forgot about that week, I think. I don't remember exactly why. I think the week just kind of got away from me. But then I was like, for next week, I'm going to go to the library. Spoiler alert, I did not go to the library, but I did do my artist date the next week. So I just had like an indoor morning date. We'll get to that when I get to week 3. But yeah, my morning date didn't, I mean, my artist date didn't happen, but that's okay. You know, again, we're just showing up and working what we have and showing up the best way we can. So I try not to be too hard on myself, but that's why I made a plan for the next week for my artist day because I was like, since I missed it this week, I definitely need to lock in and do it next week. Not as like just something to do, but also just that really put some intention behind it and really plan it out for myself. And then for question 3, I didn't really have any issues. The only issue I did have was my handwriting looks a little crazy. I'm kind of struggling to see what this says. Okay, so my only issue was really just like blocking out the outside distractions and like all the things around me that were kind of causing me to kind of just be distracted from my artistic process and my goals and my personal focuses in general. So like I wasn't really doing anything that was just for me. I was more so just focused on doing everything for everyone. I was more so just focused on doing everything for everybody around me, and I had to like remember to block out certain things, like whether that was like just talking to my parents as much, or whether that was blocking out the distractions in my living environment with my siblings, or just social media, and just like honing in on my own creativity and focusing on what I need to do for me. But that was the end of week 2. Week 2 was again another great week as far as morning pages go. The artist day could have actually happened, but it didn't. But that's okay. It's all a process. We're all learning, or I'm learning. Yeah. So week 3 was another successful week, but I didn't hit 7 days, but I did show up for 6. One morning I had to go run errands and get some groceries, so I had to handle some responsibilities, but that's okay. Again, we're just showing up the best that we can each day. I could have gotten up earlier that morning and to get some done, but I was already getting up pretty early that day to go get groceries. So yeah, again, unfortunately, it didn't happen, but that's okay. I also struggled to get to 3 pages each day because I felt like some of my days were really negative and I didn't want them to be too negative. So I kind of switched to on some days to just doing affirmations in order to get to 3 pages. And I feel like that was really helpful. And it also helped me see like a lot of improvements in my handwriting just because if I'm forcing myself to write the same thing over and over, I'm going to see it improve over time. That's something my mom used to make me do as a kid. Like if I would forget my homework or I would lie about something, she would make me write it out 100 times. I would not forget my homework or I would not lie. 100 times or until my hands started hurting. And even then, she would still make me get to 100. So, hey, it's just something she used to make me do as a kid, which I hated, but whatever. And then for question two, so I was originally going to go to the library for my artist date that week, but I did not. I ended up staying home because it was raining the day I was going to go to the library. And I just stood inside and watched anime and played some games, and I ate pizza. I really want to cater to my inner child because I feel like, again, since my youth, like my inner child has been kind of like neglected in a way. Like I just kind of blocked him out and forced my inner child to be like, all right, I don't have time to deal with your emotions and stuff, so I'm going to block out those things and just be the responsible or more focused version of myself. And for me, being more focused means blocking out how I'm feeling and blocking out anything I feel like is too childish or too just not what I need in the moment to be constructive and be productive. So I did just focus on like just being and just allow myself to have the space in order to just exist without feeling stressed or feeling like I need to do something because it's what's expected of me. Which it was a great artist day. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I just had that time to play Pokemon and watch anime. I started a lot of new anime that weekend. I started watching Witch Hat Atelier. Then I binged actually, what is it called? With Story of One and Sword. It's a great anime. I'm loving it right now. I'm really glad I binged it that weekend because now I'm fully locked in and I was able to watch all of season one, and now I'm like, I think they're on episode 5 of season 2. I'm really enjoying the process. I'm locked in. They got me. So we're rocking with that right now. And yeah, I just was able to fully just be my inner child and spend time with him, which I enjoyed. This week also asked a question around like synchronicity. Have I experienced any synchronicities around throughout the week? And for me, my synchronicity was like hitting a lot. I also got a job offer this week. I start that job next week on Monday. So excited for that. But like the previous week, I had been writing my affirmations as far as like I would like to find a job, and that's something I'm really trying to like manifest and bring to fruition in my life. So I really just locked in on just applying to jobs. But then I also had like this inner voice come to me. I'm gonna say it was God, the Holy Spirit was like, hey, just relax, chill out. And one of the jobs that I applied to back in January ended up hitting me back up and was like, hey, we're gonna move forward with the job process and give you an offer. So yeah, that happened, and God bless. I'm just excited for that because I've been wanting a job for a minute now. And then I didn't really have any significant issues. The only issue I really had was my phone bill and just trusting God because my phone was getting ready to get cut off. I figured that out, but that week I was stressing because I was like, what am I going to do without a phone? I'm supposed to start a new job. I had reached out to my parents to get some help. They said there was nothing they could do. So, yeah. I was like, I had to figure this out on my own. So I prayed about it, talked to God about it, and figured something out. But, yeah. Alright, so for week 4, I feel like this is probably my most successful week. My handwriting is looking a lot better as I'm looking at it right now. And I was really just proud of myself for committing to the practice at this point. Because I was like, once I hit week 4, I'm really going to be like a third of the way through the process. So I really feel like fully committed to completing everything and really just following through. And so I was really just proud of myself for showing up each morning, doing my morning pages 7 out of 7 days. My only struggle with the morning pages was just getting up. Some days I will wake up like around like 10 or 11, which is kind of late for me. And yeah, I would struggle to get up and actually write. But then I had to like remind myself that it was a non-negotiable. And just remind myself, what would the highest version of Pat be doing right now? He will be doing his morning pages. So I had to get up and just lock in, do my morning pages, and show up to the page. And once I showed up to the page, it was easy for me to do because, again, I've been exercising that muscle and showing up each day anyway. So once I actually did it, my mom was like, okay, here we are. We're here. Let's go ahead and do it. So I didn't struggle as much as I did in week 3 or 2 with like having to do affirmations on some days, but on days when I felt like my thoughts were kind of more negative, I was like, all right, let's switch that up a little bit and be a little more positive, a little more affirming for what we're trying to build in life. So for week 4, my artist date was again going outside and going to the park, but this time I brought my notebook and I did some writing, which was very, it also kind of brought me back to my inner child because as a kid, my mom used to take us to the park sometimes to do our homework, and those days were always my favorite days to do my homework. The only struggle was like the pollen and the heat because it is getting warm here in Georgia, but it did give me like a strong sense of presence and just being in the moment without like any external distractions. I was able to just like hear the sound of the birds singing and just write without any expectations of like what I was putting out. So I did also experience a lot of synchronicity, a lot of affirmation. It was really a reassurance to like just know that I need to kind of detach digitally because I really lock in a lot on social media as like a good distraction for myself. But this week I was like, at the beginning of the week, I put in my phone, I need to decide if I need to take a break from social media and do like an audit of my time. And my screen time was a little crazy. It was like 4 or 5 hours. And I was like, we need to get that down. So I am doing a digital detox this week, and my morning pages and just being more self-aware did allow me to come to terms with the need to do that for myself. Now for week 4. So for the question 4, I mean, it is week 4, but question 4, another synchronicity, I guess. Whatever. So for question 4, we're like, what was the issue that I was facing? My phone did get temporarily disconnected for like a few days, but I feel like that was like, again, affirmation that I need to do a digital detox. And then, but I ended up getting my phone back on. Shout out to God. And I had to remind myself that was just a minor inconvenience that was trying to deprive me of the peace that I was cultivating for myself. And so once I came to terms with that and just affirmed myself, I was good because I was like, you know what? I don't have my phone right now, but God will find a way. And he did. God always finds a way. So shout out to that. And now we're on week 5. Week 5 is going very well. I am enjoying it. I am just really, again, loving the entire like creative recovery process. Week 5 is like mostly focused on not allowing other like excuses basically to distract me from cultivating the life that I want for myself, which is doing things that I enjoy or that I love. And I know like for me, like a big thing is like feeling like I need to show up in a certain way for other people, or showing up and doing things in a certain way because other people kind of expect that from me. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I have been like slowly like trying to like stop doing that over the past few months, over the past year really. But I do feel like just this creative recovery process has allowed me to kind of accelerate that and really focus on me and doing more things for myself without the concern for things like money or what other people are expecting. They'll be okay. I just need to do what I need to do. So we're focusing on that and blocking out everything else. We're just focusing on cultivating my happiness and do what I need to do in order to focus on that, whatever that might look like, and focusing on creating the life that I love and enjoy without feeling like I'm letting people down. So yeah, that's just where we are right now. I am loving this process. From now on, we're going to start doing weekly updates for my creative recovery process and the artist way. So week 5, I'm going to do an update. When? I'm not quite sure yet. I think I'm going to do Wednesdays. it's Wednesday, so it might just be in alignment to do that. But yeah, that's it for my Artist Way book club video.